Victorians will be able to enjoy some minor freedoms this weekend, even though the state's recorded its highest daily case numbers since last year's peak. There were 514 new cases yesterday, mostly in Melbourne's north and west. But after more than 81,000 vaccine doses were administered yesterday, we're just shy of the 70% threshold of first doses. And that number was expected to be exceeded today. So the government has modestly eased some lockdown restrictions from tomorrow night. It includes social gatherings with extra benefits for people who are fully vaccinated. Bridget Rollison reports.
Today's spring weather provided perfect conditions for a picnic. These empty tables are likely to be full this weekend.
Well overdue, we can't wait for it.
I've got a few friends lined up for a picnic.
That's incredible because we haven't seen our grandson for 3 months, so we'll plan to see him on Sunday.
Victorians will be rewarded for hitting the 70% single dose target, despite the daily case numbers passing 500 for the first time in 13 months.
There are 5 reasons to leave the home at the moment. There will, from midnight tomorrow night, be a 6th.
People in Melbourne and Ballarat will be able to meet with one other person outside for a picnic. But if you're fully vaccinated, you can socialise outdoors in groups of 5 from 2 households.
We are not going to have police in every park. We're not going to have police out there requiring people to prove that they've been vaccinated. There's a degree of good faith in this. I'm asking people to do the right thing.
The exercise limit will also double from 2 hours to 4, and the 5-kilometre travel restriction will be increased to 10. But the curfew remains.
These are modest. We've never tried to oversell them, but they're not unimportant. They are meaningful.
While most of today's cases were again in Melbourne's north and west, authorities are concerned about a growing number of infections in the city's southeast, including in Dandenong, Keysborough and Clyde North.
We're starting to see some seeding out now, particularly from essential workers moving across the city, moving from the north and west into the southeast.
Sunday's the day Victorians will get a roadmap for what the next few months will look like. But the Australian Medical Association says it'd be reckless to lift the current lockdown before 80% of Victorians over 12 are vaccinated, which could be mid-November.
We need to do everything safely, sensibly, with a sophisticated approach.
The AMA have a view, and they're not wrong.
But the Premier says he'll be sticking to the national plan. Bridget Rollison, ABC News, Melbourne.
And Annie Kearney joins us live now with some extra information. Annie, the government has clarified some of the rules around picnics.
They have, Paul. They've clarified that just because picnics are allowed to go ahead doesn't mean the other rules around masks have been lifted. So the ban on removing your mask to drink alcohol remains, as too does the ban on removing your mask to eat or drink at playgrounds. The other big changes coming at midnight tomorrow, some outdoor personal training will be able to go ahead, communal gym activities, as well as skate parks will be able to reopen, while the real estate industry has got one thing that was really on its wish list: private inspections where an owner or vendor isn't at home will be able to go ahead. So, Paul, a bumper weekend for picnics, but also for the real estate industry.
Thank you. Well, of today's 10 new cases, 10 were recorded in regional Victoria, including another 3 in Ballarat. The outbreak there now stands at 6 cases after being traced back to a construction worker travelling from Melbourne. And to prevent any further spread of the virus, the government's imposing tough new rules on the industry.
A high visibility industry firmly in the government's sights.
That is required. No debates entered into.
As an outbreak at a Box Hill building site nears 150 cases, construction workers have been told vaccines will become mandatory. They'll need to have had their first dose by next Thursday.
That industry needs to take this seriously and go and get vaccinated.
I don't like anything being forced on anyone, but I mean, we're in a unique situation and we want to keep our families safe.
The state's major transport infrastructure body will conduct on-site vaccinations for its 20,000 workers.
Everybody who comes to work on a daily basis will start a pre-start meeting with their supervisor, and that's sort of how we'll make sure we know who's on the projects and who's vaccinated.
With Ballarat's latest outbreak linked to a tradie from Melbourne, construction workers are now banned from moving between metropolitan areas and regional Victoria.
Look, this is going to pose a significant challenge as we do have quite a mobile workforce and projects across Victoria.
I don't want to see a situation where there are more Ballarats, more Sheppartons.
10,000 extra vaccines are on the way to Ballarat as the city entered a 7-day lockdown, while just across the border, Albury residents are also under stay-at-home orders after 2 COVID-19 cases were found.
I guess it was inevitable that it would happen, but very disappointing.
No! No!
For other parts of regional Victoria, there are a few more freedoms on the way, with gyms and indoor swimming pools allowed to reopen from Saturday. Leanne Wong, ABC News, Melbourne.
Officials are now carefully planning that all-important roadmap out of lockdown when we reach key vaccination targets. Businesses, large and small, are frantically putting their case to the government about how they should be allowed to open. And Melbourne Airport is urging the state to commit to reopening the skies. Here's state political reporter Richard Willingham.
The normally bustling Melbourne Airport is a ghost town. Planes have been grounded, equipment is idle, engines are covered. There's barely a trickle of passengers, just 700 in one day this week.
The month of August only had 73,000 passengers for the entire month. Normally we would see 100,000 passengers in just one day.
Normally 20,000 people work here. It's a vital cog of the state's economy, and as Victoria prepares its roadmap out, the airport is looking for a commitment the borders will reopen and stay open once vaccine rates are high enough.
People have booking fatigue, so we absolutely need consistency across the premiers and the state borders. People need to know that once they book and they have some certainty, and that we're not going to experience those snap lockdowns.
Victorians will be hoping planes can return to the sky soon. It's something the government will consider as it maps its way out of COVID. But it's a big challenge to decide how many extra people the hospitals can take and how many COVID deaths will be tolerated, while many people plead for just a little reprieve for the economy and their social well-being. Grand final day looms as a lockdown test. James Sinclair hopes his chain of pubs can open outdoor spaces in limited numbers for the fully vaccinated on the big day.
The pub is absolutely the safest place for a picnic. We can check a vaccine passport on arrival. They can QR code check in. We can be in complete outdoor area with contactless digital ordering.
That's just not safe, and therefore we can't do that.
I mean, we need incentive. By the time grand final rolls around, nearly half of adult Victorians are going to be fully vaccinated.
Business wants government to set rules for vaccination, with employers worried about being charged with industrial manslaughter laws if a worker catches COVID on the job.
This is the biggest issue that employers are going to face.
Industry wants the government to use public health orders, like it already has with construction, to set vaccination requirements to protect its workforce and the community.
That will give the business the confidence that it needs to say, actually, we only need double vaccinated people in here. We can't have people that aren't vaccinated in. That's the simplest.
It's a plan business and government can drink to. Richard Willingham, ABC News, Melbourne.